All right, let's talk about the invisible world that connects literally everything you own, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. We're going to trace their entire journey, from connections that were slower than old-school dial-up, all the way to the multi-gigabit future that, believe it or not, is already here. So, let's jump right in.
You've seen these terms, right? On the box for a new router, or maybe on your phone's spec sheet, Wi-Fi 7, WPA3, MLO. They sound super complex, but each one of those acronyms represents a huge leap forward, one that actually changes how you stream, how you work, and how you connect. Our job today is to translate all that tech jargon into what it really means for your day-to-day life.
So, just so you know where all this is coming from, this is a high-level overview. We've distilled all this information from an incredibly detailed 10-part report put together by the RFI detectives who are part of Virtualization Options LLC. Think of this explainer as your roadmap, your highlight reel, before we dive deep into each and every chapter in the full series. And here's that roadmap for the full series. We'll kick things off with the dawn of Wi-Fi. Then we'll track the wild race for gigabit speeds. After that, we'll look at the future with Wi-Fi 7, and then pivot to its companion, Bluetooth. We'll wrap it all up with a practical action plan to help you secure your own digital world. Each of these topics is going to get its own deep dive episode. Our journey begins here, in the early days. Before Wi-Fi was like electricity, just something you expect to have, it was a pretty wild novelty. And we are talking about speeds so slow that a single web page today would have taken minutes to load. It's kind of crazy to think about. Just look at how fast things progressed at the beginning. In 1997, 2 megabits per second was the absolute max. Then just 2 years later, you had two competing standards, the slower 802.11b and the much faster 802.11a. Now, you'd think the faster one would win, right? Nope. The slower B standard was cheaper, so it won the market, and that's when Wi-Fi really started to take off. But as it spread, a massive, glaring problem came into focus. Its security was a joke.
And that problem had a name, WEP, which stands for Wired Equivalent Privacy. The idea was to make a wireless connection just as secure as plugging in a cable. But, well, to put it mildly, it was a catastrophic failure. The design flaws were so bad that a hacker could crack a network key in just a few minutes, using tools you could download for free. It really became the ultimate what not to do story in network security.
And this right here illustrates the fundamental choice that shaped everything back then. The popular standard, the one that won out, used the crowded 2.4 gigahertz band. It had great range, but it was competing with everything: microwaves, cordless phones, you name it. The faster standard used the clean, open 5 gigahertz band, but its signal just didn't travel as far. This trade-off between range and speed is a battle that wireless engineers are still fighting today. So in the next few parts of our series, we get to the really exciting stuff, the high-speed era. With that first security crisis kind of patched up, the next decade was all about one thing, and one thing only: raw speed. The race was officially on to make Wi-Fi a true replacement for a physical Ethernet cable.
First up was Wi-Fi 4. Its big breakthrough was a tech called MIMO, which was this clever way of using multiple antennas to send and receive parallel streams of data all at once. It was a total game changer for bandwidth, pushing theoretical speeds all the way up to 600 megabits per second.
Then came Wi-Fi 5, and it made a really bold move. It just abandoned the crowded 2.4 gigahertz band completely. It operated only on that cleaner 5 gigahertz spectrum. That decision, plus making the data channels way wider, allowed it to break into the multi-gigabit range, hitting a theoretical 3.5 gigabits per second. Pretty amazing.
And that brings us to Wi-Fi 6. Now, the real story here wasn't just that incredible top speed. It was really about solving what I like to call the crowded apartment building problem. Making Wi-Fi work efficiently when dozens of your neighbors' devices are all screaming for a signal at the same time. And yeah, it could peak at an insane 9.6 gigabits per second.
So what was the secret sauce for Wi-Fi 6? It's this thing called OFDMA. Now stay with me here. Imagine the old way was like one data truck delivering a single, big package to one house at a time. Well, OFDMA is like that same truck making multiple small deliveries to a bunch of different houses on the exact same trip. It massively boosts efficiency and cuts down latency, which you feel as less lag when you're gaming or smoother 4K video streams. It's a huge deal.
Of course, as the speeds got faster, security had to evolve right alongside it. It had to. So we went from that broken mess, WEP, to a quick fix called WPA. Then came WPA2, which was the workhorse for over a decade. And finally, we got to WPA3, which fixed some major vulnerabilities and introduced something called forward secrecy, which basically means that even if a hacker steals your password today, they can't go back and decrypt the traffic they captured yesterday.
Next up in the series, we'll explore what's happening right now and what's just around the corner. Wi-Fi 7 is already starting to arrive, but beyond just raw speed, there's a new, almost science fiction level threat that's forcing network architects to plan for a post-quantum world.
So Wi-Fi 7 gets its absolutely mind-bending performance from 3 key breakthroughs. First, it doubles the size of the data highway with 320 MHz channels. Second, it uses a much more complex way of packing data into the signal. But it's that third innovation, that's the one that changes everything.
And that game changer is multi-link operation, or MLO. Seriously, get this. Imagine your phone using the 2.4, the 5, and the new 6 GHz bands all at the same time. It can combine their speeds for massive downloads, or it can instantly hop to whatever band is clearest for your video call. It's a fundamental shift that delivers both insane speed and rock-solid reliability.
And as our connections get more and more powerful, securing them is absolutely critical. The experts behind our source material gave a really urgent warning here. The encryption that we all rely on today could be broken by future quantum computers. So the next huge challenge is something called cryptographic agility. Basically, building networks that can swap in new quantum-resistant algorithms the moment they're needed. From there, our series is going to pivot from Wi-Fi to its constant companion. You know, Bluetooth started with a much simpler goal. It was just trying to replace the cable. But it has undergone its own quiet revolution, and it's basically become the backbone of the Internet of Things.
Its journey started at just 1 megabit per second, enough for a wireless headset. It got a little faster for stereo audio, but the giant leap, the big one, came in 2010 with version 4.0, which introduced Bluetooth Low Energy, or BLE, and that changed everything. It enabled all those tiny battery-powered sensors that can run for months or even years at a time.
So today, there are really 2 kinds of Bluetooth that coexist. You've got Classic, that's what your wireless headphones use to stream high-quality audio, and then you have Bluetooth Low Energy, or BLE. That's what your fitness tracker or your smart lock uses to send tiny bits of data while just sipping power. They're 2 totally different protocols for 2 very different jobs.
And finally, our series is going to wrap up with your action plan. We've covered a ton of ground, right? So we'll bring it all back home and talk about how you can actually apply this knowledge to make your own digital life safer and more secure.
The report lays out some really clear, actionable steps. If you're setting up a new network, use WPA3, period. Keep your devices updated. Patch management is absolutely non-negotiable. For businesses, 802.1x is the gold standard for authenticating users. And for Bluetooth, make sure you enable privacy features so your devices can't be easily tracked.
You know, this table really sums up the whole security story. You can see that clear progression from WEP's totally broken system all the way to WPA3's super robust encryption. The takeaway here is simple. Anything less than WPA2 is just plain insecure, and WPA3 is the standard you should be using today.
So, as we wrap up this overview, it really all boils down to this one question. Your wireless network, it's not just the utility anymore. It is the digital front door to your personal data, to your finances, to your entire life. So, are you sure yours is properly locked? We hope you'll join us for the full series to find out how to do just that.